Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, we're in the thick of Emmy season and our beloved Succession, I guess.
It's finally here and only 9 weeks left.
Boy, oh boy. I've watched the first episode 3 times.
I've watched it. I've lost count. It was on, I know you don't have cable, but it was on again on HBO last night. And obviously I rewatched it again. So
just an amazing start. So we're going to talk about the drama categories here for this episode. So Succession, obviously, Yellowjackets return, which I thought was a really good first episode as well. I was like mixed on the first season, and I like very much enjoyed the first episode of season 2.
Yellowjackets, when I watched the premiere, I was like, I don't remember like much of last season. And I'm like, oh yeah, like the seance.
Yeah.
And then
so we have that. We had Yellowjackets, Succession, and then we had a great a little bit of news about Better Call Saul, Joyce, and its submissions.
Yeah, my beloved Better Call Saul. AMC is always on top of their submissions. The deadline is May 9th to submit. So there's still time for everyone else to get their paperwork in order and everything. Right. But AMC is pretty on top of things, and then getting the news out there too about what they're doing.
So you said they sent out the grid as you shared with me here. Someday I'll get on these emails, Joyce, and I'll get them, but not today. And the headline, I guess, would be that Rhea Seehorn is category TBD.
Yeah, they have not decided yet. Again, deadline is May 9th, so they have time.
Plenty of time to decide, plenty of time to see what actually is coming out. But like we talked about with Best Actress in a Drama Series last week in our big overview, wide open spaces. Plenty of room for people to come in, say hi.
Yeah, and she finally got nominated last year in supporting, obviously, because I finally stopped predicting her to get a nomination, and then she got in.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, Better Call Saul stans have long suggested that she should go lead too, because halfway through the series, like, Kim really came to the forefront, almost as a co-lead, and she's had a lot of great material the last couple seasons, but she she submitted in supporting, and she finally got in last year. But yeah, like we said, very open and lead this year, so
incredibly so. And I was like, I mean, like, we talked about this with Sarah Snook, which we'll talk about again, I'd imagine, because she's just crushed the first episode. And I think, like you had said, a lot of people maybe saying that she should go lead after at least that first episode. We talked about this with Jennifer Coolidge and Ray. I mean, like, that would be a pretty fun category if all of a sudden it's Melanie Linsky, Bella Ramsey, Rhea Seehorn, Sarah Snook, and Jennifer Coolidge. Would all 3 of them ever decide to do this and just move in? No.
I feel like that's also partially why it's category TBD right now, because it's like, everyone's kind of just surveying the field and being like, seeing who's gonna make the first move.
Right. So it's kind of like a staring contest, right? Seeing who blinks first. It's like the Jets negotiating with the Packers for Aaron Rodgers, Joyce. Somebody's got to move.
It's not even a decision. He already made it. So
he already made it, but
that's his intention.
Trade. They're kind of just trying to, like,
it's his intention.
Who's gonna blink first?
So whose intention is it to go lead?
So his intention is to go lead, but maybe not. So I don't know. I'm like, of all of these, honestly, I would say, like, Ray maybe should go lead. I think, and would probably, like, I don't think she would win in either category, but again, like, similar to Sarah Snook, I think she'd have actually a better chance here to win in drama actress.
Yes. I mean, anyone who is away from Jennifer Coolidge has a better chance.
Right. But
so even assuming Jen stays in supporting.
I feel like she would stay, like we said last week. I feel like she is, like, got the case for supporting. She's in a lot in the finale and stuff, but it's definitely like
she's basically a lead in the finale, but the whole show is ensemble.
And then if it's between Ray and Sarah in lead, who has
Sarah would have the edge just because of Succession, and Better Call Saul has never won an Emmy.
Right, that's true. But I do think that maybe in the end of well, I guess we'll see how the rest of Succession plays out, or Succession, as Jeremy, as Brian Cox told Guillermo from.
You think of a session of sucking.
Right, Succession. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I guess we'll see how it plays out. But I was like, oh, maybe Ray could actually be a very strong contender drama actress, but I guess we'll see if she gets put in there. Also,
should be a strong contender, but like it would still, I think it'll be hard for her to win. I mean, she has a great tape. She would just obviously submit Waterworks, the penultimate episode. I like that would be like a good winner under the tape system, but like under this system, I think it's harder. The other noteworthy thing was that Vince Gilligan is not submitting himself in either directing or writing. This is not a surprise to me.
How come?
Because so Better Call Saul has always over submitted in these categories like writing, directing, and I like to dunk on them, but in truth I know through my sources that they do that because Vince is just very magnanimous and he's always like advocating for everyone to like, submit yourselves, champion, yourselves, sure. And go for a nomination, that like it's not like maybe the best strategy, but it's been okay for them in writing. The writers have always been there for them. And contrary to what a lot of people think, like Better Call Saul is not really Vince's show. Like he co-created it and was a co-showrunner with Peter Gould for like 3 seasons, and then he left. And then he would just come back to direct an episode here or there, and obviously he came back for the final batch of episodes. And I think he doesn't want people to name check him because in directing, the show has only ever gotten 1 nomination, and that was for him in season 3. And same thing at DGA. Better Call Saul has only ever gotten 2 DJ nominations, also just for Vince. So I think he wants everyone, like the other quote unquote full-time staff members, to get the recognition, get their shine. I think he really wants for Peter Gould, who wrote and directed the series finale.
Right. I think that makes sense, and maybe could happen. What do you think?
It'll get into writing for sure. I hope it gets into directing.
The other thing I was looking at here, 2 things, just going through this. So Carol Burnett would be a supporting actress drama contender, like we had discussed and talked about. Not a surprise for anybody,
because she's an eligible guest.
Correct. Not a surprise anybody's been paying attention to the show.
Yeah.
Though not everybody apparently has been paying attention to the show. So she is a supporting actress contender. Do you think she'll get in if Ray's in the category? And then if she's not in the category, would she absolutely get in?
Let me see who I have in support.
I don't have her predicted.
I don't have her either.
She's in our odds. I think she's in 10th place at the moment.
Yeah, if Ray's gone, I guess so. Just like from name checking.
Do you think she gets?
I mean, she is great on it, but it's just like it's just their dumb rule. It's just like you're in 50% or more of the episodes. You can't be a guest.
So the top 8 in our odds are Jennifer Coolidge, Sarah Snook, Rhea Seehorn, Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, Aubrey Plaza for White Lotus Sicily, Christina Ricci for Yellowjackets, Megan Fahey for White Lotus Sicily, and J. Smith Cameron for Succession. Then Leslie Manville and then Carol Burnett. Does Carol Burnett get in over like J. Smith Cameron at this point? I mean, who knows? We don't know what the season holds in Succession.
I think Jay can still get in. I think like someone from the top 8 would have to leave the field,
right?
Or Carol to get in. Like, I don't know if it can support Better Call Saul can support double nominations in supporting actress.
Not even for a legend like Carol Burnett. I kind of agree with you, but
I mean, it's more, I don't know if they think about it this way, but it's like, we all know she's a guest star. It's just that she's ineligible in guest.
Right.
And, it already took them 6 years, or not even 6 years, more than 6 years, but 6 seasons to nominate Ray.
Right. Are they just going to roll up and be like, yeah, here's 2 nominations for this show? Seems unlikely. I don't know.
I mean, like, I think, they would need to not nominate some White Lotus people too.
Right. And we don't even have the full boat of White Lotus, because I think, like we said, if Haley Lou Richardson, I think, really should maybe be considered as well, because she's awesome on it. And she's not either in the top of our odds at all. I mean, not even close.
So, well, it's just like also because people obviously love Jen the most, and then Aubrey Plaza has also a lot of internet cachet.
Yes.
too. And then if you know, you love Megan Fahey,
Right. I'll think of this
So-
as like a bold type makeup nomination, Joyce.
we already, when was this? It was like 3 months ago. We already went through your bold type FYC from like 7 years ago.
So good. It's just the best show.
Yeah, I think like people like if Sarah and slash or Ray left, and even like Elizabeth Debicki, like we were talking about last week, if they go lead, I think obviously that's a better shot for Carol.
Yeah, there's definitely more room for Carol, but even if they all went lead, I still was like, there's other people I think who could end up popping, either from White Lotus or maybe like more Yellowjackets people. Like, I don't know, depending on how like the season plays out, like Lauren Ambrose. I don't know. It depends on like where they go. I mean, there's like a ton of like we didn't even get into like Simona Tabasco or Sabrina Impecatore.
Sabrina, yeah, I think she's like a dark horse nomination.
Right. And I'm like, so like even if like it's, so that's why I'm not like convinced that Carol Burnett would get it, even though I understand it makes sense because she's like Carol Burnett, obviously.
Yeah, like if she were in guest, I'll just be like, just slide her in right now.
The other thing is we don't have I think we can't predict guest yet, but I mean, Better Call Saul's guest potential nominations in actor is Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, like we had said, and Michael McKean and Tony Dalton. And then you have all the Succession people potentially and then that's just 2 shows right there. And you could come up with like a list of probably 8 or 9 people just from them.
They're also the laziest with the guest categories. But my friend and I have been talking about this for a year now, ever since they finally confirmed that Bryan and Aaron were going to be in Better Call Saul. I'm like, it'll just be so cruel if the only Emmy Better Call Saul wins is for Bryan Cranston and guest. Like,
and like pretty good, right? Like, I mean,
yes.
Like, seems like
it's like that's something that they totally would do. It's like they gave it to Claire Foy for reading a speech.
Right. If it's the Claire
Foy. They gave it to Margot Martindale for sipping coffee. They gave it to Terry Jones for like 30 seconds, like screaming.
I mean, very true. Not great. But those categories would be a lot of fun, I feel like. And you could have like multiple Better Call Sauls there as well.
Well, drama guest actor, you could also, you could have them from Better Call Saul. You have Succession people. You have obviously Last of Us.
Right.
Nick and Murray. So actually, like in both genres, both guests or like all that guest categories, you could have a lot of like one-offs. Like, Poker Face is just guest stars literally every episode.
So I'm not prepared to say Poker Face will get any nominations those guest categories, even though I think
I feel like they might just kind of vote split with each other.
And so I think you end up with like a lot of the Better Call Sauls and Last of Us and whatever Succession people aren't actual cast members, like Alexander Skarsgård or whatever ends up.
But I feel like A-Scars could wind up in supporting.
I think he would, and I think he really can, and I think he might. Because I'm just
he can wind up supporting, and then he could be nominated against his dad.
Which would be awesome. Based on at the end of the, they haven't released it on. I haven't seen like them send it blasted around or anything, but there was like a coming up this season on Succession trailer at the end of the first episode.
They do it every season.
They did what now?
They do it every season.
I know they do it every season, but I haven't seen it online. Have you?
Yeah, they post it like right away.
Oh, I guess I don't look at online as much. I guess just too busy watching.
Or like, are you always in like incognito mode or something? Because like I went to like YouTube like the next day and it was like the top video recommended to me.
Wow, the only videos I get recommended to me are us. I'm like a parrot.
Because you're incredibly vain. I never get our videos recommended.
Pretty bird. Just looking at us. I'm like, wow, these guys are great. What do they have to say? Can't wait to see. These two really seem like they know what they're talking about.
How many times do you rewatch and re-listen to us?
Oh, maybe like 1,000. No, I always try to listen through once while I'm doing stuff just to make sure I didn't say anything too stupid. As you know, I'm definitely fine with saying stupid stuff, but not too stupid. Don't want to go too stupid. Anyway, that trailer, I was like, A, it looks awesome, and B, I was like, he's in a lot of the trailer, but it might just be from like 1 or 2 episodes. So I guess we'll see.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, obviously, he has that amazing gold jacket.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely from at least 1 episode, and then obviously there's the mountaintop confrontation with Roman. a lot of sexual tension.
Love
So,
that.
yeah.
I was like watching that trailer. I was just like, I think they're really hiding a lot of the back half of the season. That was my big take.
Yeah, I mean that's what you do.
Very smart. Joyce, did you read the Esquire profile of Kieran?
Immediately, obviously.
What were your favorite parts?
All of it,
He's
but
so
also
good.
incredibly relatable because I can't run.
No.
Like, I'm out of breath after 5 seconds of running. So, and yeah, I got tired going to another bar and I just want to go to bed like he did after a long day of ferrying and interviewing.
Totally relatable content. Also in the article, they talk about how Mark Mylod at the end of the finale, which is like in the woods with just the three of them. I was like, this is a lot of alarm bells are going off here, I feel like. But
well, that's not, it's just like the last thing they shot. It's not
right, but they
necessarily
were also that I think they shot it relatively in order. I don't think they're going back to like
no. Like it's a scene in the last episode, but it's not like the last scene of the series.
Right. One of the things that made me laugh was Mark Mylod was like, I want to do an action movie with Kieran as
Oh my
the
God, I was
star.
like, I will watch this right now.
Best, whatever year comes out, best movie of the year. I could not wait. I was like, it's a great concept. He's awesome. Put him in it. Let's go.
But also, like when Kieran was like, "Oh, I want an action movie with a guy who doesn't know how to fight," I'm like, yes, exactly, because my friend and I have been talking about this since Spider-Man No Way Home and like middle-aged Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. Like, he has back problems, he's tired, just achy. I'm like, yes, we need more superheroes like this.
They
So
almost did that with Mr. Nobody, right? The Bob Odenkirk movie. But again, it
yeah,
ended
but
up being like,
he got jacked
he got
and
jacked and like did fighting, like a
yeah.
lot of like John Wick
Yeah,
fake.
I want people who can't fight.
Right. Yeah, like Keanu Reeves is 58 years old. He's in John Wick doing like kung fu and like fighting everybody.
Yeah.
Not
Like, you're too
I mean,
good. I want someone more relatable.
yeah. That'd be Kieran, maybe.
Yeah.
Joyce, so what was your we now can talk about what happens in Succession episode 1. We still have not seen episode 2. I'm hoping they send it out this week early.
I know what happens.
I don't.
And
But
so,
what do you think of the first episode? Now that we've talked about it more.
I mean, I feel like we talked about this last week, like, 10-10, no notes.
I loved it so much. And like I said, I watched it multiple times. I love that they did a full episode and end of episode and then tack on like a amazing 15-minute scene basically of Sarah and Matthew getting a divorce. Just awesome.
Yeah, and I love that the mini time jump was just like a couple months, and then because I think you might assume, because based on the past season premieres, is like they picked up immediately, basically, almost like in the aftermath, and I think you might assume they would just show the aftermath of the season 3 finale and like, will she or will she not confront him about his betrayal? And no, they just kind of like skip over that type of stuff, and then you have to you fill in the pieces yourselves, and I love that.
So good. It's just I love trusting the audience.
Yes, exactly. You trust the audience to pick up, through the dialogue and everything and their interactions. And I love like the almost like kind of throwaway lines, and then you kind of like when they were arguing about whether or not to go after Pierce, and Kieran or like Roman says to Shiv, it's like, you were all about the 100 in Dubai. I'm like, ooh, what happened in Dubai?
So good. And I was like, in another show, this is all bullshit that they would end up doing like prequel stuff and like, here's what happened when they were gone, or like save it for the
they will like eventually show a flashback or something to Dubai.
And this show will not do that, I don't think, at all. And that makes it so much better. I was like, another thing I love about the show is just like, man, at the end of last season, especially how Tom and the way Matthew McFadden played Tom, I was just like, you are rooting for Tom, I feel like. And it was like a great win for Tom, I feel like, to stab everyone in the back and go with Logan, because they'd been so dismissive of him most of the season, right? And like kind of like not super.
It was just an amazing arc, just because, the first half of the season was his prison arc. Right. Trying to make toilet wine. He's looking at the facilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And then this episode, I was like, oh man, you know what? Like, they've done a great job. I'm like, Tom, like, kind of a dick, and also like Sarah again, like really empathetic. I felt like as Shiv, I was just like not team Shiv or team Tom, but I was like, wow, like this is like really good. Like none of like she is not a. I think it would have been an easy way to make her fully like like a villain and you're like kind of rooting for that to happen, and then like it's not like that at all. I just found it like really good. It's just such good storytelling. It's so good, such good characterizations.
Well, it's always been consistent in their characterization, especially hers, is that like she is incapable of expressing her emotions. Like all she can do is just suppress them. Like she doesn't want to talk about what happened.
Right.
And she needs the upper hand in that relationship with Tom, and she hates that he got one over her.
Right.
You know, it's like she needs him to be subordinate. And yeah, like she doesn't like, you know, she's like, we have nothing to talk about, like let's just split up. We gave it a go. And it's like she's like, it's like her way of kind of admitting defeat without admitting defeat. It's like you basically beat me here, and I'm not going to try to work for it, and I don't want to talk about it and talk about how I feel because I can't be vulnerable because we've never talked about feelings in our family.
It's a
So
little,
it's like, let's just split up and not deal with it.
It's a little, I'm going to take my ball and go home. And then also like in a couple of postmortem interviews I was reading, or like pre-air interviews that they ran postmortem on the blogs and the trades, Joyce, one of them was, she was like, I think Shiv is expecting Tom to like, kind of like grovel and say, oh, well, let's work, like kind of come back to her. Right. And like give her the upper hand again. And then he's just like, all right, fuck it. I'm done too.
Well, yeah, because like, you know, he was heartened by his conversation with Logan.
And heartened. Another great moment.
It was just great. And then I was like, as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, everyone is just gonna be like, she should go lead. Like she probably had the most screen time of the premiere.
Absolutely. She's like the focal point of the premiere, I think, and of the group of them. And I don't know, I was like, I could buy it, and then she'd be really good to go lead. It's a great performance. She's so good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she would still have, you know, that same problem that afflicts her in supporting and also afflicted Laura Linney in lead. But I think there is, you know, I guess like depending on what happens the rest of the season too, it's like you could have like more empathy for her, which would be a little bit more appealing, even if she is kind of prickly and super ambitious and like fucking people over, you know, namely Tom. And like, you know, as long as she's away from Jennifer Coolidge, she has a chance.
Right.
And I actually think like she might have a better chance winning in lead, not just because the field is weaker, but I think in like the supporting categories, like they gravitate more towards like fan favorites and like flashier performances, usually like Julia Garner and Aaron Paul and like Peter Dinklage.
Right.
You know, so, and like Jennifer Coolidge also fits in there too. Like that. So yeah. I don't know, but
the other big takeaway from the premiere, I was like, Brian Cox Emmy now. That was it.
My favorite scene was the diner scene with Colin, his best pal. Oh my God,
good.
that was, and like it was just so good. And you know, like really the first time Logan has addressed his mortality, not even when he almost died in season 1.
It's so good. First of all, like potentially the first time that they've ever spoken more than 10 words at the same time together.
Yeah, and then he's asking him about the afterlife, and then he says like, what are people? And it's like, this is like his version of small talk.
And then I loved everything he said in that, and he's like, I love that Colin's like, he's like, you're my best pal, thank you, sir. Just like the most like robotic.
Well, there's nothing else he can say, and it's also such a rich person thing to do too. It's just like your best friend is your employee, because you have no real friends.
So Colin's like not really engaging with him, and then he asks him about like the afterlife or what happens after people die, and he's like, well, my dad's really, and Logan's just like, fuck it. He just cuts him off immediately, just like, I don't care about your stupid dad, like here's what I think.
It's so good. Oh my God, it was so great. And it was such a, like, again, like it's still a great characterization of like Logan and his whole persona and his state of being at this moment, with his kids having not betrayed him, but like, you know, they're severed. And it's like, you know, in like later on when he's like roast me, it's like he misses all of them like dragging each other, you know, and he's like so down throughout the whole party because that the same energy is not there.
Yeah, he misses the repartee, I guess. That's
Yeah,
another great scene for I felt like it was a great moment, great episode for Nick Braun. Just so really a lot of good Greg material. Very fun.
it's great. And now we have an eternal meme with the bag.
The bag was
ludicrously
great.
capacious bag.
Love Tom. I love anytime they have Matthew McFadden just getting out the thesaurus and just saying a bunch of words. It's so lovely.
That's why we need Ewan back, because he always teaches Greg new words. So
really quite good. I just was like, yeah, I definitely was like, oh, Brian, Emmy. The other thing I was thinking was like, man, I do think for Logan, not again, they're fake people, Joyce. They're not real. So I have a hard time separating sometimes that these are not real people, and that I'm like, they're not like, but I'm like, oh man, Logan is always right. Like the show has said he's always right, he always wins, and he actually is always right.
well, that's why it was so funny to me to see like so many people at like 10:03 or whenever the episode was over, you know, like tweeting their postmortems, their headlines, or even just like the regular tweets. It's like, oh, finally the kids got a W. It's like, is it really a W? Like so, it is, but it's really an L.
That was that was one of our Vanity Fair podcasts. Was like the kids finally won, and I was like, did they though? Are you watching the same show?
They did exactly what Logan says, is like, congratulations on saying the biggest number, you fucking morons. Mm-hmm. Which they did. They said the biggest number. What comes after 8 and 9? 9B?
9B. And the only one who knew it was fucking bad was Roman, which again shows how smart Roman is. Just
I've always said he's always been the smartest one. He's just immature. Like they all have like their issues, obviously. But he's also the one who is the least reluctant to turn against Logan. We've seen that time and time again. He always wants to please Logan.
Right.
And I think he also knows that like Kendall and Shiv are like almost too ambitious because they want to change the game. And
they also think it's personal. Like he says that in the episode. It's like it's for them it's not business, it's personal. And Roman is actually business oriented, not personal.
Yeah. And like he doesn't like he wants to I don't know, like succeed or whatever you want to call it, but he is like very sensible about it. And you've seen him like, you know, like Logan deputize him to do stuff and he might fuck it up, but like Logan kind of trusts him. And you saw, you know, in the finale, like how hard it was for Roman to see that Logan just cut them off. And he was like, you know, like what do you want? He was like, love. He's like, love.
Yeah.
Love.
I think I was like thinking about that too, because I'm like, man, Roman knows all the angles seemingly probably as well as anybody other than Logan, right? He does very sharp on the business acumen. And even in that final episode there, the thing that Roman ends up, the Achilles heel for Roman is that he wants them all to be a family.
Yeah, like he likes them hanging out. And we've had some nice scenes of them hanging out through the years, like on the yacht. In that tunnel on that boat, that little dinky boat.
Another great moment. Yeah, no, I was weighing in on that, and I'm very excited to see what happens, obviously.
Yeah, and then you see, you know, in the sizzle, the weeks ahead, it's like, again, Logan is reaching out to Roman.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he texted him on his birthday.
Right.
Yeah, he's John, motherfuckers.
That's great. You think I'm George, I'm John, which is funny, though, because George is pretty great. I mean, if you're going to be a Beatle, you just don't want to be Ringo, right, at this point? No offense to Ringo, but compared to the other three, you'd probably have more...
but like I mean in terms of them, Connor is Ringo. Absolutely,
Connor is Ringo. Connor's doing bum fights at his fucking wedding.
He's maintaining the 1%.
I love Willa in those scenes is so good with him.
So what was her line when she was like, oh, that's so greedy because they already have the other percents or something? Oh my god, that was so
really good.
Justine, oh god.
So that's
nominate her.
I mean, I was like, honestly, I was thinking, so this is silly, but I was like, what about like Zoe Winters for nomination? I mean, in supporting, she was so good in the pilot, the first episode, excuse me. And I was just like, I don't know if she's in it a lot. She's definitely like a regular cast member, so she'd be in like supporting. Why not her?
Yeah, she's still billed as guest, but obviously if she's in 5 or more, then she probably will be because she is Logan's friend, assistant, advisor.
Yes, and so, it seems like it just seems like she would be in a lot. Like she was in last season, she was in more than, I would say, probably most of the episodes. I think she was.
Yeah, and she also is very attuned to Logan too, obviously, and like picked up on why he was bummed out,
Yeah.
and then is like telling the kids to call him, and it's not also like I don't think it was like in a goading way either.
No,
No,
she had a
it's just
great
like
moment
yeah, it's
with
like she
the
knows like he would be happy to yell expletives at them.
yes, and I just love how she doesn't engage when they're just saying horrendous things to her. She just is like
That
silent.
everything out of Shiv's mouth as they were walking to the plane.
That was incredible. I also loved. Did you meet her on the apps, Greg? She from the apps. Did you meet her on the apps?
I love Bridget. That poor Burberry bag though.
The whole thing. I'm just like, man. What if the Emmys just Succession? I'm sure people watching this are like, get off Succession already, but it's just very good. It just really is.
I mean, if they do run Sarah and Lee, they could win all 7 if somehow J. Smith Cameron wins supporting, which I don't think is going to happen, because Jennifer Coolidge exists. And I don't. I mean, if they submit a lot in directing again, it could lose directing again to like Mike White or someone. They could focus their campaign on one episode. They could win with 2 episodes because they did it last time with Hunting. It's just hard overcoming 3 nominations in directing. So, but yeah, Jesse Armstrong, he'll obviously submit the series finale in writing. We don't know what the title is yet, what line from the poem.
I still don't know.
But yeah, he'll go 4 for 4.
What else do you think of Joyce in these drama categories? Anything else in the last since we last spoke that you're like, oh, maybe?
Well, so just Yellowjackets premiered the same day. They're going to air the same day. Well, they had their digital premiere on Friday, but
yeah, it's very confusing, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like not, they got a head jump on it a little bit before Succession, and they also announced their premiere day before Succession announced theirs. But yeah, obviously last year, Christina Ricci switched to supporting like a couple weeks after it was announced that the 4 adults were going to go lead. But she obviously, she/her team saw, her having a better chance in supporting, and she got in. But just like watching the premiere, I haven't watched other screeners for the other 5 screeners, but I'm just like, she is a lead. Like, I don't care that she's going and supporting, but it's just like, it's funny to, I don't know, imply that she has like less of a presence than the other 3.
She definitely has as much presence as the other 3. I guess the only way I think it's supporting is because it's the type of performance, like you were saying before, that feels
it's
supporting.
Like flashier, yeah.
It's a flashier, like scene-stealing performance that is a lead performance in a supporting, like, clothes.
Yeah, and I guess like in season 1, and maybe you could fudge a little bit more because Misty was like the outcast, and she wasn't, as much of a focal point in season 1. But now that like they're all in this like ship together, and like she had a lot of stuff to do in the premiere.
Yeah.
I was like waiting for Juliette Lewis to come in. I'm like, where is she? I was like,
she's more of the second episode. I've only watched the first 2, even though we have screeners for 6. But we're trying to watch with the crowd, Joyce. Again,
you love watching it live.
Love it. Love watching with the discourse. Got to engage with that discourse.
Yeah, so like I don't think she'll move to lead, but I'm just like, she's it's like it's hard because like it is like White Lotus, so ensemble-y, right? And I guess it would make the most sense if it was like all the 4 adults in lead and the teenage ones in supporting. But I think like there's definitely episodes where they focus on the teen actors more too, so they feel like the leads, but I don't know.
Do you think there's any way that Succession is not going to win drama series?
No.
Not even White Lotus. You can't make a case for it.
No. Why?
I don't know. I can't either, but I'm like, maybe you can. I don't know. People love White Lotus.
Okay, well, what's your case for it?
Nothing. That they like White Lotus. I mean, Succession would win. I don't know. I'm just like,
they do, but it's also like they also like Succession.
Right.
I mean, they've never faced off before, but I think it's also like they know it's the last season too. It's kind of like a similar thing with Ted.
Right.
It's like it may be the last season of Ted.
Right.
I don't know when they will confirm that or not,
I don't know if
but
they will. Like we talked about, I think they're just gonna
I
wait.
know they can definitely drag it out beyond the Emmys. You know,
Definitely.
just like they're just like, in discussions,
Mhm.
always talking about it. So,
I
um,
mean, this last season took so long to get going. It felt like, even though it didn't miss the cycle at all, it just felt like it's been
yeah, because they used to air in the summer, so they
right.
were, yeah. I mean, they missed a calendar year of airing, but that doesn't matter. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, it's like this now, like that was the third episode this week, yeah. So they'll finish on May 31st, just in time.
What else we got here, Joyce?
Um, I I don't know. So I mean, you still have Brian in first in actor.
I do, and nothing would and nothing from the first episode made me think otherwise. I'm just like fascinated by the performance. He's so good. He was this good last year. I mean, in our odds, it looks like Bob Odenkirk is tied at least Brian at the top spot. That's
He's not
maybe
gonna.
wishful thinking, as the Succession boys split the vote, and then Bob wins.
They should have given it to Bob before Succession premiered. And,
Yes.
um, or even that first year of Succession when they didn't nominate any actors, even though Matthew Rhys won that year, and I love Matthew Rhys. But yeah, it kind of, it doesn't help Bob that he wasn't able to win anything besides Critics' Choice.
Right.
This winter, like not even SAG when they also nominated Jonathan Banks. Yeah, and I think I don't know, I think like Brian being so high is also like wishful thinking. Like I know I'm also hope dicting him because I want him to have an Emmy for this role, but I'm also like he might not win because I could also see them just going back to Jeremy too. And I don't know if we'll have, the same situation as last year where there is someone from another huge juggernaut like Lee Jung-jae in Squid Game to benefit from the two of them.
I mean, like looking at it, the only person I could even think of is like Pedro Pascal for Last of Us, but it doesn't feel like that even is like likely.
Um,
I mean, the show is a huge hit, like Squid Game.
yeah, and I think that's also kind of wishful thinking too, if like you're predicting him to win. It's kind of, I think people are just very excited that he has a legit shot at a nomination finally, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like and like not for Mando. And so I get that, and like obviously the show is big, but I I don't I feel like a lot of the love too, it kind of reminds me of the love for Aubrey Plaza and Natasha Lyonne. It's just like they're kind of just these like fan favorite celebrities, and people want good things for them. They want them to get their flowers. And it seems like, yeah, like Natasha's been nominated before, but it seems like they have a really good chance this year, and people want them to win.
Right.
Even if like other data might not support them being as strong as you want them to be.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm like, there's no real like excuse me, there's no real alternate then for these two.
Yeah, like you would assume it's Bob, but I don't, they just
there's no proof that they care about it still.
No. It's like it's never gonna win an Emmy. Maybe for Bryan Cranston and Guest, like we said, but and
then I still have Matthew winning supporting actor, especially based off the first episode, because I was just like, I'm in.
Matthew McFadden, new member of the MCU.
Yes.
Love to see it.
Get that paper. Deadpool 3 star Matthew McFadden.
Yeah, I mean, I also want Kieran to win, obviously, too, before the show's over. But again, I can see them just going back to Matthew.
I can see that too, but again, we're basing this solely on just that one trailer. I'm like, there is definitely an arc here for Kieran that's going to be very compelling.
Yeah, because he's pulled back in by Logan just when he thought he was out.
I mean, honestly, based on the trailer and just like the way the show has gone, I feel like of all of them, the least the least not interesting, but the character who has like kind of plateaued is Kendall and Jeremy. Like, where do you go with him, right? Like, you kind of like at the end of last season.
Well, he has a lot of stuff coming up. Like, he didn't really have that much in the premiere, obviously, right, besides eating sunflower seeds.
Let 1,000 sunflowers bloom, Romy.
And an amazing Miss Piggy impression, his first line of the season.
his line readings are really good.
And then when he was like, maybe we just don't nickel and dime it and go like full 10. The way they talk about, I love the callous way they just discuss money and wealth. It's like it means nothing to them.
I love how Roman's like, I mean, think about all the sushi and jet skis we could buy for 500 million.
Well, yeah, remember when they had to give up the private jets?
First they came for the PJs and I said nothing. That was a great Roman line.
Incredible. That's why he needs an Emmy too. This is why they can't end after 4 seasons.
I mean, they are though. Maybe they'll come back with like a spinoff. What Succession spinoff would you want?
No. I don't want any because I like things ending.
Me too. But if they were going to do one anyway, like what's the Better Call Saul version of Succession?
So like a prequel of a supporting character
or anything. It could be anything, but that kind of show, right? Like take like a, like nobody was like, oh, we need Better Call Saul.
I mean, obviously everyone would want just the Disgusting Brothers.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I would watch a Frank and Carl spinoff. Like what are they up to?
Man,
in their day to day. Like just getting sandwiches.
The thing about Logan is he's a tough old nut.
Amazing burns.
Just the best. I love these actors so much. Peter Friedman, A+. The thing about Logan is he's a tough old nut. Just so good.
I'm gonna use that one day when I need a really good comeback.
Joyce, we have we got an email here about the Emmys that I'll read, and you could email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. This is from a loyal listener, David R., not to be confused with the other David who emailed us last week about Oppenheimer and can't wait for Chris to go full puppy dog on predicting Ben Affleck's Air. Disrespecting you, also #1 Air stan.
Air, I love the press for Air.
So this is from David R. Hi, Chris, and my queen, Joyce. Still loving the weekly content. I'm one of the original 5 viewers, and then the crying, laughing emoji. I'm curious about gender in categories, David writes. I've noticed when an actor is non-binary, like Bella Ramsey, Emma Corrin, and Janelle Monáe, they are nominated in the female or actress categories. Is that their choice, or are they placed there for other reasons? As a queer fan, I don't personally care where actors are nominated, if it's their choice. Just wondering if it would be possible, for example, for Bella Ramsey to be nominated in the male or actor category, if that's where they wanted to compete. Love you both. David, not the David whose questions you've answered recently. I'm the David that asked the infamous were versus are nominees question.
Oh, the Grammar David.
Grammar David.
Love Grammar David.
Yeah. So what do you think, Joyce?
They get to choose. Like it's always up to them.
Right.
So obviously those people chose actress, but Asia Kate Dillon of Billions, which may be ending finally.
Yeah.
After 7 seasons, and there's going to be like 10 billion spinoffs of Billions. Asia chose to submit an actor, not actress.
Right.
So yeah, there's always up to them. So like no one would force anybody to submit in
the category they didn't
want to be in.
Right.
So
yeah. We have said I'd be curious to see if these shows go to genderless acting categories, but I think, like we said, that would just take away from a potential winners. You would lose a winner if you did that.
Well, yes, there would be fewer winners. I mean, as I've always said, if you're gonna do that, don't do 2 winners or expand the nominations from 5 to 10. It's like you're just trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's just like if you're gonna do it, just to have the 5 and the 1 winner. And just deal with just having 2 fewer winners. But also I think, like I think it's not easier, it's not the right word, but it like for smaller groups, like critics groups, a lot of the critics groups that have adopted gender neutral categories, and even like the Spirit Awards, they have like smaller bodies nominating and voting and stuff. And so there is a little bit more gender parity in the nominations. But I think, with these larger groups, when you open it up to like 10,000 people at the Oscars or something voting, I think it's still going to skew heavily male.
Right. So I was trying to think, like, did not put a lot of thought into this. So like I said, I try to say stupid things, but not too stupid. So that's the prologue. But if you're going to, I'm always like, I just don't like the idea that you would have one less winner, right? Like if you have the best actor and best actress, you have two winners. If you just had best performance, a genderless category, you'd only have one winner. What if you split it up by like period versus contemporary for the performances?
But like costumes and makeup.
Kind of, right? Like, I mean, I do think
are you gonna do like biopic and a fictional character?
Well, I thought nonfiction versus fiction, because there are so many biopics, and that would actually, for the Oscars particularly, that would be interesting, because then you'd like kind of be able to not have to reward the biopic. Though this year we saw that maybe they lost the taste for that, at least for temporarily. But I don't know, if you did contemporary and non-contemporary, that would be kind of interesting, I guess. Then you'd still get two winners.
No, I don't think like that. That would just be your way of just trying to maintain the four winners.
Yes,
or
exactly
whatever.
right.
And it's just like, if you actually care about this, then you would just deal with having fewer winners.
Right. But I don't want
to. But like, you're still like having like a field of 10 nominees. And it's like, no, just do the 5.
Right.
Just do 5 and just do one winner. You don't need 2 winners. But yeah, like the awards are a marketing tool anyway, and the stars are the biggest marketing tools people have to sell their product.
Right.
So obviously it benefits to have more acting categories with more stars coming in pretty gowns and nice tuxes.
Love to see it, Joyce.
Be winning awards.
Yeah.
To sell the product. So.
All right. You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Joyce, I think we're going to wrap up. There's a quick episode, but I mean, it's early days here.
I don't know. Yeah. Like what else is there to talk about?
Air? Still talk about Air?
Air. Did you watch Ben on Kimmel last night?
Not yet. I was actually going to watch after we signed off. Tell me about it. Was it good?
Yeah, great stuff.
Good stuff.
So, obviously,
the Ben tour.
You've seen Matt hijack it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it goes awry. That's not a spoiler. So.
No, you can't spoil a late night interview, honestly.
No, you can't. You can't spoil anything that's out on the public anyway. So.
Did you listen to Ben and Matt on Bill Simmons' podcast?
I did, only because of them, because I don't normally listen to that. So
I listen to it occasionally when I like the interviews, and I thought it was a great interview. That they were very good.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I just love Ben's talking point now. Like every interview I've listened to with him or read with him, like he just feels like put upon to explain why Michael Jordan is not in the movie. It's just like that's like his go-to. Like he knows he has to explain why.
There's that, and then also I feel like every interview he talks about my wife, but he doesn't want to say like it's Jennifer Lopez. You could just say Jennifer Lopez. We all know who you're married to.
I love when he says his thank yous at all these premieres. It's like I have to thank my brilliant wife. Yeah,
we know who it is.
Yeah, I also love in the Simmons interview when they were talking about like paparazzi culture in the 2000s and stuff. Like Bennifer era 1, and Matt was like talking about Jennifer Garner, his first wife. Like he just says that initially, and then like 2 minutes later he finally says Jen Garner.
I noticed that too. I was like, we all know who you people are married to and are dating.
And like just say her name.
We know just the whole history.
Yeah.
But
I've been watching First Wife, Jen Garner's miniseries. I just started it. The last thing he told me. So
yeah, I got those screeners too. I'm gonna check them out. Just too busy watching the Sopranos shows. We finished season 4 last night, the Whitecaps episode. It's a great
iconic episode.
Great actors, James Gandolfini and Edie Falco. So,
what does Case think about Sopranos so far?
I think she's liking it. She's found it more funny than she thought, which I think I mentioned to you, but I was like, it is very funny.
It is. I think that's, a misconception about dramas is that they are always like serious and dull and sullen. And it's like, no, the best dramas are very funny, like Succession.
Also, it's funny in the horror, like in this episode, I think it was there, we watched the last 2 of season 4 last night. And it was one where Paulie goes to steal money from his mom's annoying friend and then murders her. And suffocates her with a pillow. And it's like absolutely hilarious, but also horrifying because it's like he's just killing some poor old lady. But like, just Paulie Walnut's just an all-time character.
R.I.P. So sad.
So sad, but so good. Really, really fun stuff. Yeah, I love anytime we want to talk about Sopranos. I mean, I just was like, man, James Gandolfini, so good. Hot take here.
When are you guys gonna finish the whole show?
I gotta say, it's a lot of episodes.
Because like you're taking your time.
It's just a lot. It's like a lot of watching. The episodes are long. Whitecaps is 75 minutes. I mean, that's like a long episode. So we have still.
Yeah, their finales were long.
Oh my God, we have all of season 4 and then, all of season 5 and then 2 parts of season 6. So maybe this summer, I guess. Couple of months.
Yeah. And then she could weigh in on its Emmy run. It had to wait until season 5 to win drama series.
So watching it so far, it's funny. I was doing a lot of reading up on it too, just because I haven't watched it in a long time. I was like, man, all like the best episodes on people's lists are all from like season 5 and 6, it feels like, and some season 4, like Whitecaps, obviously. But I do think season 3 is maybe the best season so far, completely.
What was in that? I haven't watched.
That's Ralphie shows up and then kind of like it's just running amok because he doesn't get killed until season 4.
Right. Pine Barrens is in 3, right?
I believe Pine Barrens is in 3. Yeah. Melfi getting raped. That episode is in 3. Yeah, there's a lot of like classic episodes in there.
Yeah, Pine Barrens was in 3. Iconic episode.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it probably should have won earlier, but I also don't really have a problem with West Wing winning.
No, the thing is, West Wing is great, and like, it's hard to compare them, but I do think the early seasons of West Wing are probably better than the early seasons of Sopranos.
Yeah, I don't really, when I rewatch the West Wing, I don't really rewatch 5, 6, 7.
I like 5, 6, 7. I think they're good, but like they're not as good as the first seasons. Come on.
No, it's the same thing as when I watch ER. I just watch 1 through 8. And then I don't really watch the later seasons. It went up to 15. Right. But then like after Anthony Edwards leaves, I'm just like, You're okay. Out. Yeah. So
all right, Joyce, this is great. We'll talk more old TV and other stuff. I'll talk to you later. Bye.